You may know Rick Harrison as the savvy dealmaker from Pawn Stars. But behind the cameras, there's a story the public was never supposed to know. A secret raid, a courtroom showdown, and life in prison. This is the side of Rick Harrison you've never seen. For years, Pawn Stars pulled back the curtain on the fascinating world of pawn dealing. Rare historical artifacts, tough negotiations, and daily drama inside Rick's iconic Las Vegas shop. It wasn't just entertainment, it was a history lesson wrapped in reality TV, and Rick was the brain behind it all. So how did the beloved face of one of cable TV's most successful shows land in the middle of a criminal investigation?
6 months later, a judge said he was the first one there, give him the license.
You had to go to court to get a license to open a store.
Yes.
What happened behind the scenes? And could there really be enough evidence to justify a life sentence? As whispers turned into headlines, and headlines turned into outrage, one thing became clear. This wasn't just tabloid gossip. A serious legal storm was brewing, and Rick Harrison was at the center of it. Now, we dig into the details. What went wrong, who was involved, and why the truth is even more jaw-dropping than the rumors. Ready your popcorn, because this story is far from simple. Before he became the face of a global TV phenomenon, Rick Harrison's story began in Lexington, North Carolina. Born on March 22, 1965, his early life was far from glamorous. At just 2 years old, Rick's family moved to San Diego, California, where his childhood took an unexpected turn.
How far in high school did you go?
Finished the 9th grade.
9th grade?
Yeah.
Then what happened?
At age 8, Rick was diagnosed with epilepsy, a condition that would shape much of his young life. Frequent seizures meant missed school days and isolation, but it also led Rick to books, lots of them. Instead of sitting in classrooms, he devoured history and business texts on his own, developing a passion for learning that would later become his superpower.
Well, I mean, it'll go back to when I was a kid. I mean, I was a really sick kid.
Despite his thirst for knowledge, Rick dropped out in his sophomore year of high school. But quitting school didn't mean quitting ambition. He jumped into the world of work early, helping his father with small business ventures. Even as a teen, Rick had a sharp eye for value and a knack for negotiation. At 17, life threw another curveball. His girlfriend became pregnant. Rick married young and had 2 sons, Corey and Adam. Though the marriage didn't last, the experience matured him quickly. In 1981, the Harrisons moved again, this time to Las Vegas. Rick's father opened a small coin shop, which would eventually evolve into the famous gold and silver pawn shop. The early days were rough, filled with long hours, financial struggles, and the challenge of building trust in a rough neighborhood. But Rick thrived under pressure. Each challenge built the foundation of the man who would later become a reality TV icon. These early struggles weren't just background noise, they were the crucible that forged his instincts, resilience, and relentless drive.
When you see something, you can start figuring things out, I guess.
In 1989, Rick and his father opened the gold and silver pawn shop in Las Vegas. What started as a modest coin shop quickly evolved into something much bigger. Rick wasn't just selling, he was building something rare, a pawn shop with personality, expertise, and integrity.
I knew from the beginning that I had to be different than the other guys.
He spent years learning the ropes, long hours, difficult customers, and plenty of sketchy deals. But Rick had a gift. He could spot value where others saw junk. Over time, he became known for his honesty, sharp eye, and deep knowledge of history and collectibles. That reputation caught the attention of TV producers. Rick believed his shop had TV potential, and after years of pitching, he finally landed a deal with the History Channel in 2009. Pawn Stars exploded. Rick, his father, the old man, son Corey, and Chumley became household names. Each episode mixed humor with history, turning everyday transactions into fascinating lessons. Fans loved it, and tourists flooded the shop hoping to meet the cast. The success transformed Rick's life. He wasn't just a businessman anymore, he was a celebrity. But with fame came pressure, and every move started getting more attention. What Rick didn't know was that some of that attention would eventually uncover cracks that no one saw coming. Pawn Stars made Rick Harrison a household name. His no-nonsense personality and deep knowledge stood out. He wasn't acting, just being himself. He insisted the show teach something. Viewers didn't just watch deals, they got history lessons. That unique approach helped the show explode in popularity. Rick rode the wave, He wrote a book, opened a restaurant, and became a Vegas celebrity. But he never left the shop. He worked alongside Corey and Chumley, keeping the business grounded. When his father passed in 2018, Rick stayed focused on maintaining the shop's legacy.
Now, your father just passed away.
Yeah. My father was an amazing guy.
But with fame came questions. Some wondered how everything ran so smoothly. Others noticed inconsistencies. Rick's straight arrow image began to fray. The man who once brought history to millions was now drawing attention for the wrong reasons. And the spotlight that made him famous was about to reveal much more than anyone expected. In early 2023, the unthinkable happened. Federal agents raided Rick Harrison's home and the gold and silver pawn shop. FBI, IRS, and cultural heritage officials arrived with search warrants, seizing documents, computers, and several high-value items. The scene shocked fans and employees alike. Corey, who was at the shop, later said it felt like a scene from a crime drama. But this was real and deadly serious. At first, there were no official details. Online speculation exploded. Was Rick caught in a financial scam? Was it fraud? Something bigger? Days later, authorities confirmed the investigation involved allegations of tax evasion, money laundering, and illegal trafficking of stolen historical artifacts. Some items allegedly came from museums and private collections and had passed through Rick's shop without proper documentation. Rick's attorney denied everything. "This is a misunderstanding," he said. "Rick has always followed the law." But fans were divided. Many stood by him. Others were stunned that the man known for valuing history might have helped exploit it. The History Channel suspended Pawn Stars. Traffic at the shop dropped. The once celebrated business was now tainted under a dark cloud of suspicion. Through it all, Rick stayed silent. No public statements, no interviews, just silence and more questions. For a man who spent years teaching others how to identify what's real and what's fake, Rick was now being asked to prove something himself: his innocence. As investigators dug deeper, a troubling picture began to emerge. Authorities claimed Rick had knowingly undervalued certain artifacts for tax purposes, selling them privately for full market value. Worse, he was accused of purchasing stolen historical items through intermediaries. One whistleblower, a former employee, handed over records of a hidden bookkeeping system allegedly used to keep illicit transactions off the books. Encrypted messages, suspicious financial transfers, and communications about cleaning provenance of stolen artifacts were cited as key evidence. Among the most damning claims was a conversation about an 18th century document believed to have been taken from a university archive. In another, Rick allegedly discussed how to structure a large cash deal to avoid reporting requirements. Rick was arrested but released on bond. He faced charges including tax evasion, money laundering, trafficking in stolen goods, and conspiracy to commit fraud. His lawyer maintained his innocence, calling the charges deeply flawed. Meanwhile, the public was split. Loyal fans launched online campaigns defending Rick, while experts in history and archaeology praised the investigation, citing the damage caused by artifact trafficking. The courtroom was now Rick's new battleground. After years of evaluating rare items, he was now the one being evaluated by the legal system. The man who once stood as a guardian of history was now accused of helping dismantle it for profit. The trial was intense and emotional. Rick maintained his innocence, but the evidence stacked up fast. Testimonies from former employees, financial records, and encrypted texts that painted a picture of someone operating far outside legal boundaries. One message showed Rick allegedly coordinating how to sell a stolen document without alerting authorities. Another referenced offshore accounts used to hide profits. Prosecutors claimed he ran a dual system, one for the public, one for secret deals. Rick's defense argued it was all circumstantial, that he was being unfairly targeted due to his fame. But jurors weren't convinced. When the verdict came, the courtroom went silent. Rick was found guilty on multiple counts. Then came the real shock. He was sentenced to life in prison. The judge cited not just the financial crimes, but the damage to cultural heritage caused by trafficking in irreplaceable artifacts. His son Corey broke down. Chumley left the courtroom in tears. Legal experts called the sentence extreme, but the judge stood firm. You presented yourself as a guardian of history. In truth, you helped dismantle it. Rick's legal team filed an appeal immediately, calling the sentence disproportionate and unconstitutional. But the request to delay imprisonment was denied. Rick was led out in handcuffs. The man who once evaluated priceless artifacts now faced a future behind bars. His reputation shattered, his empire in ruins. Rick's sentencing shocked the public. Fans were split. Some called the punishment unfair. Others said he got what he deserved. Supporters launched online petitions and social media campaigns. Historians and cultural groups, meanwhile, praised the outcome as a warning against trafficking stolen artifacts. Pawn Stars was canceled. The shop stayed open under Corey's management, now focused on transparency and strict vetting. Chumlee called the situation heartbreaking. Corey focused on salvaging the family name, distancing the business from his father's actions. Despite it all, fans kept sending letters and messages. Rick's impact, for many, wasn't erased. It was just complicated now. Rick Harrison's rise was remarkable. His fall, just as dramatic. He built an empire through knowledge and grit, but crossed a line that cost him everything. He made history fun, taught millions through a pawn shop window, and inspired people to chase success on their own terms. Now, he sits in prison, fighting for an appeal. Corey runs the shop, determined to rebuild on stronger ground. Rick's legacy is no longer black or white. For some, he's still a teacher. For others, a warning. Whatever side you land on, one thing's clear. Rick's story won't be forgotten anytime soon. Rick Harrison built an empire, lost it all, and left behind a story no one saw coming. If this hit you, even a little, drop a like. And if you want more stories that go deeper than the headlines, you know what to do. Hit subscribe. We're just getting started.